Hey there, and welcome back to another Dragon Prince video. And recently, I've been talking a lot about the various different villains of the show and what's in store for them, or what I believe they've achieved in the past. And this includes my theory that Viren totally murdered Callum and Ezran's mum, my belief that Claudia is being set up as the next big villain, and even a deep dive into Erebos' motivations and future storylines. But whilst villains are fun, and it's interesting to speculate how they're going to go about achieving their nefarious goals, I guess it's time to take a look at some of the more wholesome characters, the heroes of the franchise. And today, I thought I'd start by talking about one of the main protagonists of the show, everyone's favourite elf, Rayla. When we first meet Rayla, she's a reluctant assassin, part of a group of elves sent to kill the royal family of Katalis in revenge for the death of the Dragon King and the apparent destruction of his only egg. However, due to a chain of events, spurred on by her reluctance of being an assassin, Rayla discovers that the egg is alive and joins forces with the two princes of Katalis to try and return it to its mother, whilst also trying to seek redemption for her parents' apparent failure at protecting it, and also developing a romantic entanglement with Prince Callum. And after a few seasons of trials and tribulations, a lot of her storylines reached their natural conclusion at the end of the most recent season. She confessed her love to Callum, she reunited Zim with his mother, redeemed herself to her people and proved she wasn't a traitor by joining the Dragon Guard, seemingly killed Viren and stopped him from killing Zim, and learned that her parents weren't cowards who abandoned their posts like the others. Now that's a lot of different conclusions to a lot of different plot threads. But my question is now, where does she go from here? What are her storylines? Compared to Callum and Ezran, a lot of her character's pressing issues seem to be largely resolved. Will she have her character grow outside of being Callum's romantic interest and Zim's protector? I definitely hope so. This show's pretty progressive, so I hope her role doesn't just get restricted to girlfriend and mum of the team. That being said though, I definitely think that seeds have been planted for potential Rayla storylines that focus heavily on her and her personal development outside of just being another member of the team. And I think that the first of these storylines, and the one that makes the most sense for her to pursue first, is reconciliation with her people. Now, as we know, when she tried to explain that they needed to call off the assassination attempt on Callum and Ezran, and instead return the egg, her foster dad, Runan, turned on her and tried to kill her, whilst her people exiled her using magic. But obviously, now that she's a member of the Dragon Guard and has the favour of the Dragon Queen, her people can't really stay that mad at her, can they? They're going to overrule the Queen? But then again, they do come across as kind of conservative in their culture, and they might take issue with Rayla going against her comrades in that way. In any case, I expect the people at large will most likely accept her back, but I still think that she'll want to have that personal redemption that comes with rescuing him. Because obviously, we know that he's still alive, he's just locked inside one of Viren's coins. But because his magic flower sunk under the surface of the pool, nobody else knows at this point. But they wouldn't have shown that if sooner or later somebody wasn't going to notice, and her storyline's probably going to revolve around trying to free him from his imprisonment, which will probably draw her into conflict with Viren, Claudia, and Erebos. And I think this would be an interesting little story. For much of the season, the Zim protection squad's been running away from Viren's forces. I think it would be an interesting change of pace for them to switch roles a little bit, and have the main team hunt the villains as they escape Xadia to regroup, and start up their next plan. And then this ties into a potential reunion with her parents. Now originally we learned that Rayla kind of hates her parents, considering them a disgrace to the Dragon Guard and to their people, and that she wants nothing to do with them ever again. However, over time, Rayla comes to learn that after Harrow and Viren killed the Dragon King, Viren went to destroy the egg, and the majority of the Dragon Guard fled, leaving only Rayla's parents behind. After a short battle with Viren, they were overpowered, and Rayla's mother convinced Viren to steal the egg rather than kill it, whilst he inflicted upon them an extra special fate as a reward. And knowing that this dude's a bit of a psycho, and that he's previously trapped elves in coins before, I think it's likely that he simply stuck them in coins. I mean, he could have used them as dark magic sacrifices, I guess, but surely we would have just seen them die in that case. In my opinion, in TV, if you don't see the character die, they ain't dead. If their story was over completely, I think we'd have some proper confirmation of their status, as opposed to a vague and threatening statement from Viren. So I do think that it's actually quite likely that we get to see a big old happy family reunion in the future, with Rayla, her parents, and her adopted dads. And in this moment of happiness, I guarantee one of them will die. It really is the perfect setup, and honestly, if Rayla got them all back with no problems, it would be a bit too convenient and feel like everything fell into her lap. It wouldn't feel earned. Characters need to pay a price for the things they want to get back, so one of them would probably need to die in the aftermath of all this wholesomeness, and realistically, it's probably the nice dad that stays at home and doesn't fight. And I feel like there's really nothing more tragic than the civilian parent getting the chop, probably from Erebos or Claudia. By that point, I don't think Viren's still going to be all that relevant, and in all likelihood, probably will be dead, because, you know, He's clearly going to get betrayed. And honestly, the more I think about it, the more I feel that it's going to be Claudia that screws her over in a moment of triumph and takes out her foster dad. After all, knowing Claudia's personality, wouldn't she blame the group for the loss of her brother's loyalty, or maybe even her father's future death? And it would also be a nice nod to them both being Callum's love interests, without making it stupid like them fighting over a boy. Claudia is slowly getting drawn more and more into dark magic, and if what happened to Viren's mental state is any indication to what that does to you, I don't expect it's going to be a happy time for her. And then in turn, this would set up Rayla and Claudia to have some sort of rivalry / clash in the endgame of the series. Cause, I mean, it's clear that Callum and Erebos are being set up to be arch rivals in the future. It just makes sense. Erebos is one of the most powerful magical wielders ever. He comes from one of the most mystical and mysterious races of elves, most likely is prejudiced towards humans for not possessing magic, and it's actually probably likely he would be quite bothered by a human being able to use magic without a primal source. And on top of that, Erebos needs a rival that can go toe-to-toe with him. And whilst Callum's currently nowhere near that level, he's obviously very special as he's the only human who's able to draw on non-dark magic without a tool of some kind. So obviously as time progresses, he'll keep developing his powers for an eventual confrontation. So this means Rayla will pretty much be sidelined unless she too has a rival. And since she and Claudia are pretty much the antithesis of each other as both characters and in their relationship to Callum, it just makes sense that they'll clash. Plus, their families have battled heaps before, so this is just another element to that story. So yeah, in book 4, I definitely expect Rayla's storyline to focus heavily both on rescuing and restoring her family, whilst also trying to balance keeping her new family safe. And if the graphic novel's anything to go off, I think I'm on the money. I won't spoil it in case you want to read it, because sometimes people forget that these things exist. But yeah, I reckon I've got it. That being said though, those are just my opinions, and now I'd like to hear yours. What do you think of my theory? Do you agree? Maybe you think it'll play out differently? Make sure to leave a comment, let me know.